Everything began with a question he could no longer ignore. Is this the life I want? Marcos, a 28-year-old young man, felt trapped in a routine that was slowly suffocating him. He woke up each day with the same exhaustion, worked a job that didn't inspire him, ate in a rush, and slept poorly. He dreamed of starting his own business, traveling, feeling free, creating something that would leave a mark. But those dreams, little by little, seemed to fade into monotony. One ordinary morning, while aimlessly scrolling on his phone, a motivational video popped up. A man spoke with passion about how to change your life in 30 days. Something in those words struck a deep chord in Marcos. A lump formed in his throat. He turned off his phone, stared out the window, and whispered, "No more." That same day, he grabbed a notebook and wrote in big letters, "My 30-day challenge to change my life." He didn't have a detailed plan or any magical wisdom, just a burning determination. He was going to wake up early, read, exercise, eat better, stop procrastinating. Above all, he was going to discover who he really was. That night, with more fear than certainty, he went to bed feeling something different, a mix of fear and excitement in his chest. For the first time in a long time, he felt alive. He had decided. And even if the road ahead was tough, something inside him screamed, "Do it." And you can do it too. It all starts with one decision. Day 2 came with an unexpected visitor, doubt. The initial excitement was already starting to shake. The alarm went off at 5:30 a.m., but Marcos hit snooze 3 times before finally getting up. When he did, he felt drained. As he checked his phone, he saw several messages from friends. "Are you okay? Do you really think you can change in 30 days? Don't be ridiculous." Each word weighed heavily. His own mind joined in. "This is crazy. You won't make it. You always quit everything." The external voices teamed up with his inner insecurities. And for the first time, he truly doubted. He looked at himself in the mirror, dark circles, messy hair, and asked honestly, "Can I really change?" Fear disguised itself as logic. It offered him perfect excuses. "It's too soon. You should go slower. It's okay to start next month." But then, something small inside him, a spark, almost invisible, lit up. He remembered why he started. He remembered that hollow feeling, that craving for more, that desperation not to die without having really lived. And although he didn't have all the answers, there was something more powerful than any doubt, a decision made from the soul. Marcos took a deep breath, splashed cold water on his face, and whispered, "I won't give up today." Because sometimes the simple act of holding on one more day is all you need. The initial enthusiasm lasted only a few days. Marcos had created a detailed plan. Wake up at 5:30 a.m., read for 30 minutes, meditate for 10, go for a walk, eat healthy, and complete unfinished tasks. But by day 4, everything began to crumble. That morning, he didn't wake up on time. He overslept, rushed to work, skipped breakfast. He grabbed the first thing he could find, sweet bread and instant coffee. Later that day, exhausted, he told himself, "It's fine if I rest a little today." But that little turned into 3 hours of binge-watching series. Guilt wrapped around him like a heavy blanket. Maybe I'm not enough. Maybe this challenge is just for disciplined people, those who are already on another level, he thought. He felt defeated, small, stuck. He stared at his goal notebook, no boxes checked, and felt like the initial spark had been an illusion. The reality check it hard. But in the middle of that fall, something emerged. Not a glorious epiphany, but a simple truth. This wasn't the end, just a stumble. Instead of collapsing, he took a deep breath and recognized the truth. Every new habit requires struggle. Change is not linear. He would fail, yes. But that didn't mean he had to give up. That night, he wrote again in his notebook, "I failed today, but tomorrow I'm back." Because giving up is not an option. And with that phrase, the real journey began. That night was especially tough. Marcos had a day full of failures. He got angry at work, argued with his mother, skipped his routine, and ate what he wasn't supposed to. Everything felt wrong. He locked himself in his room, turned off the lights, and sat on the bed with his head in his hands. The silence was overwhelming. The only voice he heard was his own. Why keep going if I always fail? For the first time, he seriously considered giving up the challenge. To stop trying, to return to the comfort of the old routine. No pressure, no disappointment. And right then, something was revealed. Giving up was easy, yes, but that ease felt empty. It was a deceptive comfort. A place where nothing hurt, but nothing happened either. Marcos realized that comfort was the true enemy. It wasn't his lack of discipline, his mistakes, or his past. It was the false peace of not trying. That night, through tears and deep sighs, he made a decision. He wouldn't give up. Not because everything was okay, but because something inside him screamed that it was worth trying one more time. He opened his notebook and wrote just one sentence. Today I didn't win, but I didn't lose either, because I'm still here. And sometimes, that's the bravest thing you can do. The next day, Marcos woke up different. Not better, not stronger, just clearer. Instead of beating himself up over the previous day, he sat down with his notebook and started writing. He didn't know exactly what would come out, but he let it flow. Mistakes, thoughts, emotions. As he wrote, something clicked. Every mistake was a lesson in disguise. Every stumble, a chance to understand himself better. That moment was a total shift. He understood that the goal wasn't to be perfect, but to be consistent. That failing didn't make him weak, it made him human. That what really mattered wasn't how many times he followed his routine, but how many times he got back up. That morning, he decided to stop fighting against himself and start working with himself. He promised to be his own best ally. He began calmly, a glass of water, a few minutes of meditation, writing an intention for the day. He felt a peace he hadn't known in a long time. It was as if, for the first time, his mind and heart were on the same team. The magic wasn't in massive transformations, but in the daily decision to move one step forward, no matter how small. That new philosophy would accompany him for the rest of the challenge. And so, with a renewed focus and a fresh spark, Marcos gave himself permission to change, without rushing, but without stopping. Because when you choose consistency over perfection, progress becomes inevitable. Don't leave now. The best is yet to come. Like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Keep watching, because what's coming will change your perspective forever. As the days passed, Marcos started noticing something he had initially overlooked. It wasn't the big changes that made the difference, but the small daily commitments. It wasn't about changing the world in 24 hours. It was about transforming his life from the ground up. Every morning, he wrote down 3 things he was grateful for. At first, it seemed silly, but soon he discovered it trained his mind to focus on the positive. Then, he'd go for a 20-minute walk. Sometimes without motivation, but he always returned with a clearer mind and a calmer heart. He started repeating affirmations in front of the mirror. I am capable. I am moving forward. I am changing. At first, it felt awkward, but after a few days, those words became his shield against fear. The most important lesson was this: discipline wasn't about being harsh, it was about commitment to himself. He learned not to negotiate with excuses. If he said he'd walk, he walked. If he said he'd read, he read, even if it was just 1 page. That made the difference. And that's how the real magic started to appear. Not in grand achievements, but in the details, in consistency, in repetition, in silent effort. Every step counted. And the most surprising part was that, without realizing it, he was no longer the same. He was creating a new version of himself. And you can too. You just have to start and not stop. Week 3 marked a turning point. Marcos no longer recognized himself in the mirror in the best way possible. His face looked calmer, his posture more grounded. He started waking up before dawn without needing an alarm. His energy had shifted, but the most surprising transformation was happening inside. He began to notice how he spoke with more confidence. The doubts hadn't disappeared, but they no longer paralyzed him. People around him started seeing him differently. Friends who once mocked his challenge now asked how they could start their own. Even his family noticed a new spark in his eyes. That's when Marcos understood something deep. He wasn't just changing his routine, he was changing his identity. He no longer saw himself as someone who always failed, but as someone committed, resilient, and driven by purpose. And that internal change was more powerful than any habit. The most beautiful part was the feeling of freedom. He was no longer a prisoner of his former self. Now he made choices, took action, and moved forward with intention. Every small win fueled his self-esteem, and every day felt like writing a new story. Marcos didn't become perfect, but he became more aware, stronger, more himself. And that transformation was the clearest proof that when you change from within, everything around you begins to change too. Inspired by his evolution, Marcos dared to do something he never imagined. He signed up for a local conference to share his story. The event brought together entrepreneurs, dreamers, and people like him, all searching for change. He was given 10 minutes to speak. It didn't seem like much, but to Marcos, it was a whole world. The night before the event, he couldn't sleep. The fear came back hard. What if I freeze? What if no one takes me seriously? Who am I to talk about change? Those inner voices haunted him like echoes from the past. But this time, something in him was different. He opened his journal and reread everything he had written during the challenge. Every fall, every lesson, every win. He felt proud, not for being perfect, but for not giving up. He didn't sleep that night, but he woke up with one clear truth. He was no longer the man he had been a month ago. The fear was still there, but now it had a new companion, courage. And that was enough. The moment came. The lights, the murmurs, the microphone trembling in his hand. Marcos stepped onto the stage with his heart pounding like a drum. He took a deep breath, looked at the audience, 200 people. Some curious, others skeptical, and many silently searching for hope. He started speaking. At first, his voice trembled. But then, as he remembered his story, everything started to flow. He talked about his day one, about the doubts, the defeats, the small victories. He didn't hold back. He was authentic, vulnerable, and real. The room fell silent. And when he finished, applause. Not lukewarm, but loud, emotional, heartfelt. People came up to him with tears in their eyes, thanking him, hugging him. One said, "You saved me from giving up today." Another, "I want to start my own challenge now." In that moment, Marcos understood something powerful. Success wasn't just about changing his own life, it was about impacting others. His process of pain, confusion, and effort now had a bigger purpose. And he realized that sometimes the true meaning of your story lies in who hears it and transforms because of it. Marcos stepped off the stage with a different smile, not of personal achievement, but of a mission fulfilled. He had started out hoping to change in 30 days, and ended up changing lives. After everything he had experienced, Marcos understood something essential. Change is not a destination you arrive at. It's a path you choose every single day. He no longer counted the challenge days as a countdown because he realized it wasn't just about 30 days. It was about a new way of living. He discovered that bad days would still come, but they no longer stopped him. He learned to see them as part of the process, not as failures. What mattered wasn't being perfect, but getting back up every time. That simple act of moving forward, even without motivation, was what made him stronger. Every morning, his commitment was renewed. He no longer needed external motivation because his own story had become the greatest proof of what he was capable of. What started as an experiment became a lifestyle based on awareness, consistency, and purpose. And the best part, you don't need to be special to do it. You just need to make a decision and keep it alive with small daily actions. Marcos no longer dreamed of a different life. He was living it. If you're reading or watching this, it's because you feel it too. It's possible. It's within your reach. And it all begins with a choice. If you've ever felt stuck in a routine that doesn't fulfill you, if you wake up feeling like you're just surviving instead of living, then this story is yours too. You don't need to have all the answers. It doesn't matter if you feel lost or broken today. The only thing you need is to take the first step, just like Marcos did. He didn't have a perfect plan or a figured-out life. He had fear, doubts, and plenty of reasons not to try. But he did it anyway, and that was enough to begin. And you can too. Because change doesn't begin when everything is fine. It begins when you decide you don't want to stay the same. Maybe you're telling yourself, "I don't have time. I don't have the energy. I've already tried before." But I promise you, there's a strength inside you that you haven't met yet. It's just waiting for you to dare to wake up. Start with something small, a decision. Write it down. Say it out loud. Commit to yourself, not to the world, to you. This isn't a fairy tale. It's real. And it's proof that any ordinary person can achieve something extraordinary if they choose to. So if any part of you lit up while reading or hearing this, don't ignore it. This is your moment. This is your story. And today could be your day one. This isn't just the end of Marcos' story. It's the beginning of yours. Today, you have the chance to decide. Not tomorrow. Not when you have more time. Today, because the real power lies in beginning, even if you don't know how it'll end. And trust me, 30 days can change everything. Just imagine what your life would look like if, for 1 month, every single day, you chose to care for yourself just a little more. Read something inspiring. Move your body. Be grateful for what you have. Speak to yourself with more love. You don't need to do it all perfectly. You just need to start with intention. This channel, this community, exists to support you. You are not alone. There are thousands of people also deciding to transform their lives, step by step. And you can be part of it. So here's the challenge. 30 days, a commitment to yourself. Not out of obligation, but out of self-love. Not out of fear of failure, but out of the desire to grow. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video with someone who needs a boost. And drop a comment below. Today I start my challenge. Don't overthink it. Make it real. Because if Marcos could do it, so can you. And who knows? In 30 days, maybe you'll be the one inspiring others.